On a Monday morning, putting the stream down for you, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill, this KGW weather forecast. And before we get local, I want to take a second and touch on what you've probably heard about, the devastating loss of life, more than 80 souls lost as of on this Monday morning from the flooding that took place mainly in the early morning hours of Friday, July 4th down in the hill country of central Texas. We have some video of the flooding along the Guadalupe River. And as you take a look at this video, keep in mind that this is one of those riverbeds that often is running like not even knee deep. And then you have flash floods, which are fairly common, I understand, in this area. So people are used to flood warnings. But this time around, it was catastrophic flooding. We'll get to the numbers here in just a second. This is video shot, I believe, mostly yesterday. You see how the devastation is. Floodwaters went from a river that was not even knee deep to some 30-plus feet high, in many cases less than an hour. Just absolutely hard to wrap your head around what happened here. From that video, let's show you what the river graph showed. This is from, so the one spot that made a lot of national news, the children that lost their lives out of Camp Mystic. It was a girls' camp in Texas. Nearby that area is the Guadalupe River gauge at Comfort. And notice, this was going into the morning of July 4th, 2 feet, again, barely knee deep. And then in the blink of an eye, in a period of 30 minutes roughly, this river, it's hard to imagine, jumps up to over 30 feet. And then on July 5th, on Saturday, it takes about 24 hours to come straight down. So lots of fact-checking going on right now in terms of when did the warnings come out, what were the warnings like. So here's a basic timeline. I find this very interesting. It's something that will be covered a lot in weather research and presentations because this has made the list of one of the deadliest flash flood events in our nation's history, sadly. So the Camp Mystic flood warning timeline in that area in Kerr County, Texas. The first flood watches came out Thursday afternoon. So what does that tell you? That tells you, hey, we've got a system that's going to be producing some thunderstorms, in this case, with heavy downpours, enough rain coming down that we could have rapidly rising rivers and flash flooding. So heads up. Now, by that evening, this is Thursday evening of last week, that was upgraded to a flood warning. So now what that basically tells you is the event that we're suspecting is now starting to happen. So please be advised. Now we're in the overnight hours, and that's key because the worst scenario for any emergency forecaster is projecting something that's going to happen in the middle of the night while people are asleep, right? So at 1:14 a.m., the early morning hours of July 4th, this flood warning was upgraded to a considerable flood warning. That's the forecasters on site now seeing heavy rain returns on their radar. They're seeing rapidly rising river levels starting to take hold. They saw a lot of the low river crossing areas noticeably showing floodwaters in the 4 o'clock hour that morning. At 4:03 Friday morning, an emergency flood warning was issued. Now, all of the alerts, the weather radars or weather radios that people have are now broadcasting alerts, and emergency personnel are being notified as well. Now, the forecast for this area was 4 to 8 inches in the Texas Hill Country. And I don't know if that was over a 12 or 24-hour period, but I do know this. What actually happened was 7 inches of rain fell in some of these hill country areas in 3 hours. And the bottom line is the most difficult to wrap your head around. A river rise of some 27 feet in less than an hour in a 45-minute period. And that's what produced the loss of life in that area. There were river gauges near Austin, Texas, over a 3-day period, with July 4th being kind of the centerpiece, that produced 20 inches of rain. So the question is, and I think what the Weather Service needs to see if they can come up with the solution, is the governor of the state of Texas talked about how this is an area that's often getting flash flood warnings, to the point that if you're in this area, you may hear, oh, flash flood warning, heavy rain, inches of rain, we get it, and that's it. This was projected now to be a once in a 100-year event in terms of how catastrophic this flooding was. So how do you properly warn people that this is not just a classic flood warning, that this is potentially catastrophic? What warning can you put out that grabs people's attention to that magnitude more so than here we go again with heavy rain and more flood warnings? That's what we need to really answer. And I'm sure this will be looked at carefully in terms of the flood warnings seem to go out in timely order, but they don't scream, once in a 100-year event. And then beyond that, were the people in the area, did they have devices that gave them the warnings? So much to come over and put back together. Again, 80 souls lost, more than 80, and a lot of people still missing. This area, by the way, continues to see thunderstorm activity. They're under flash flood watches today for 2 to 4 inches, maybe even isolated rain cells hitting repeated areas, dumping as much as 10. Now here's Kerrville. So most of this heavy rain today has been north of that area, but we had a live report from NBC's Jim Gray on our Sunrise broadcast this morning, talking about how even over the weekend people were coming back into the flood zone, and then they had to leave again because of a renewed flooding risk. Well, that type of pattern is still going on. Anyway, I wanted to touch on that. I'm sure you're interested in it. It's just been such a horrific story. Let's get you local now. Out here, out to sea, this is a cool pocket of air that will bring clouds and a pretty sizable cool down to our area on Wednesday. The one spot that's not starting off sunny today is along the coast. Here's the Fog Banks from Chinook Winds Casino Resort in Lincoln City, expected to push out to sea and bring afternoon sun. Inland areas will just be sunny all day. Here's Timberline Lodge with the sunshine. Here is downtown Portland with the clear skies. We'll be up to about 90 today. I am watching alerts not for today but for Tuesday. So on Tuesday, heat advisory, 100 to 105 degree actual temperatures from about Hermiston east to Pendleton up into Washington. We'll keep an eye on that. Also Tuesday in the afternoon, evening, a fire weather watch for dry thunderstorms. What the heck is that? That means you get a lightning strike, but there's no rain. We call it dry lightning. And obviously that heightens the chance of fire starts because there's no water coming with the electricity. So we'll watch that carefully. Here first are the temperature projections for tomorrow. Look at the 102 in John Day, Baker City about the same, Pendleton about the same, Arlington 106, Yakima 105. And then more 90-degree temperatures up and down the valley. Now, Futurecast for tomorrow, Tuesday, doesn't show a lot of thunderstorm activity, but it does show some. And it also shows this pool of cooler weather sitting offshore. So this will sweep in on Wednesday, bring some rain to western Washington and Seattle perhaps, maybe bring a touch of moisture to the north coast, especially of Oregon. I don't think Portland has any moisture, but we will get clouds. And if the clouds are solid all day, which they might be Wednesday, we would struggle just to get up into the 70s, and that's after hitting 90 today, 90 tomorrow. So pretty big cool down coming midweek. Temperatures for this Monday, 65 to 70 at the coast, assuming afternoon sun comes. Valley temperatures, low 90s. This shows Salem 93. Notice all of the winds on these forecast projections are mainly light. 88 up in Longview, but I think hitting 90 degrees in Vancouver. The Dalles is going to be upper 90s, in fact 99. Hood River 95. There's the gentle west 5 to 15 mile per hour breezes in the gorge. And here's the map that shows basically everybody inland being close to 90 or above, including Bend 95 and Madras 96. Portland 7-day, here we go. 90 today, 90 tomorrow. If we do it both days, today will become day 5 of 90-plus degree days this year. Tomorrow, of course, will be day 6 if we do it. There's the big cool down, 76 or cooler on Wednesday, 80 or cooler on Thursday, morning clouds to afternoon clearing, and then back up to 92 on Friday, and then I've got us in the upper 80s over the weekend. Hope you found the Texas story, tragic story, interesting to go over the time frame that's being looked at so carefully in terms of those watches and warnings and what happened. Really just a heartbreaking story. For now, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. This is your KGW 8+ weather forecast.